stagnant articles in the Constitution. Well, let's now speak live to David Ndii. Many thanks for joining us here on News Desk. What exactly are you seeking to safeguard from this petition?
Thank you very much for having me. I will use two examples quickly. You know that we had a huge debate about retaining Catholic courts in the Constitution. Mm-hmm. And if you recall, or those who recall, you recall that there were lots of Christian leaders who are against retaining Catholic courts in the Constitution. Right. Now, Catholic courts was part of the political settlement that created Kenya, that united Kenya with the coastal strip at independence. Now, I think you can envisage a situation where dissatisfied Christian leaders, this being a Christian country, could mobilize the public sentiment of Christians. We are over 70% Christian. They could do a referendum, and they would remove Catholic courts from the Constitution, repeal that clause, and as things stand now, even the courts do not have anything to stop that, to challenge that. Their hands are tied. So that's an example of what we are calling basic structure, that the Constitutive Act of Kenya as exists includes that compromise between Kenyatta and the Sultan. You can look up the agreement. It's written and exists, to retain Catholic courts in the Constitution. Yet, majoritarian sentiment could be used to undermine the basic structure of the Constitution. The second thing is the dispute that's already going on, the situation that is already ongoing relating to the Chief Justice Directive to the President to dissolve Parliament. Now, I have seen comments saying that the solution to this is actually to remove the two-thirds gender rule from the Constitution. So, in terms of Parliament, to make that go away, make the problem go away by then undermining the bargain that was struck in the 2010 Constitution in 2010, right, that it would be a progressive constitution that would be inclusive and would include gender equality. Mm-hmm. So you can see the current political situation actually being where sort of emotive sentiment can be mobilized and then end up taking us backwards. So what we are proposing is that there is jurisprudence and there is legal devices that exist in the name of the basic structure of the Constitution and constitutional amendments, limits to amendment and stuff like that, that we can also adopt. They've been adopted elsewhere, India and many other countries, to protect the Constitution from this kind of assault.
All right. I mean, the bigger question would be, is this in response to the Building Bridges initiative? And even as we discussed that, is the Constitution at this time ripe for amendment?
There are, if you look at our petition, we refer to 13 amendment bills that already exist since 2010. Right. And we reviewed those bills and we realized that quite a few of them are vexatious. Okay? So it is not just looking at BBI, but we look at the past. Some of those are live in Parliament and they are related to some of the things that are coming out of BBI. So one of the assumptions that Kenya have, which is false, is that the BBI agenda is only going to be pushed through a report and subsequently a proposal for a referendum. The BBI agenda is being pushed already through constitutional amendment legislation being surreptitiously being pushed through in Parliament. So the idea that, but we are not looking at those in isolation. We're saying that, like the examples I have given, it is quite evident that the constituency which was against the Constitution and which has, for instance, led by the current, some people in the current government, including the president, which has from 2013 tried to claw back the authoritarian system by various means. It started with some proposed security amendment laws, which were going to clawback Bill of Rights issues on things like torture and other horrible things that used to happen. So this has been going on, and we're saying it is time to to defend the Constitution by improving our constitutional jurisprudence through this kind of adopting this principle of doctrine of basic structure and constitutional amendments.
All right. Is there a timeline in your petition within which the Chief Justice should constitute the bench?
We do not dictate calendar on the court, but we already have the issue has been certified. The duty judge who received the petition already certified this as urgent. So once it is certified as urgent, it means that the court is going to give it sort of express treatment.
All right, and finally, even as we finish up with you, what are your thoughts on this dissolution advisory that Chief Justice David Maraga has given to President Uhuru Kenyatta? And many speaking about the legality and the political implications, but what are the other far-reaching economic implications that Kenyans could be staring at?
It shouldn't have any economic implications if the president does the right thing, dissolve parliament, and then so that we kick off the process. I believe that we could have a new parliament by Christmas, and then go on. What you need is prompt and decisive action to assure economic actors that this is not going to create uncertainty, because we already have economic crisis and financial crisis emanating from the government sort of debt distress, emanating from the uncertainty that has been created around 2022 general elections, emanating from the COVID impact. So the last thing you want to do is to add something else which is totally unnecessary. However, if it was dealt with decisively, the president said, I'm going to dissolve the parliament as of a particular date, and this is the roadmap to the elections of a new parliament. I think that would attenuate whatever economic impacts. If he doesn't do that and propagates a political crisis, it will compound the situation which is already headed into some form of crisis anyway.
Absolutely. And of course, this advisory has also seen a section of legislators now coming up and saying we might need a referendum, perhaps to rectify directive on the 2/3 gender rule, or perhaps do away with it altogether. Like you mentioned in your petition, you said that if a process is not created to audit the proposed amendments to the Constitution, that Kenyans could end up with an imperial president and repugnant articles in the Constitution. I mean, in layman's language, what consequences would Kenyans be staring at finally?
I think you just need to go back to history. The Independence Constitution, which was very similar to this one in spirit, was never repealed formally. It was repealed by amendment, by stealth. Yeah? Amendments to it were done, about 35 of them, from independence, culminating in the Section 2A, which made Kenya a de jure one-party state in 1981. Okay? So we have that history that you can actually restore the old order by amending the Constitution by stealth. And we are saying that those are not amendment. Amendment means minor improvement. If you bring things which constitute structural change, we are not saying that you cannot. But if you're going to bring things which constitute structural change, we are saying we should raise the bar. What you do is say we are proposing to repeal the 2010 Constitution and do another one, in which case the threshold of process would mean that you start a new Constituent Assembly, you do what we did in terms of bombers, all those bombers processes, that you need a formal process anchored in sovereignty to be able to change from one constitution to another one. But to pretend that you are not changing the constitution, you are improving the other one, that is the mischief that we want to cure.
All right, many thanks. That is economist David Ndii speaking to us here on News Desk. He, alongside 4 other activists, have filed a joint petition seeking clarity on a common law judicial principle to safeguard certain clauses of the Constitution from amendment. It is a developing story. We'll keep following up for you. Many thanks for speaking to us, Ndii. And that is where we wind up News Desk this afternoon. Many thanks for watching. For more information, log on to our website on www.ktnnews.com. My name is Michelle Ngele Odhiambo. Good afternoon.